Are the creators behind Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey really planning a slasher equivalent to the MCU? We have all the available deets on the Twisted Childhood Universe, or TCU if you will. Next in line for a twisted Rhys Frake Waterfield reimagining is Bambi.
Come, my son.
Yep, you heard that right. Bambi the Reckoning will take the well-known story of the orphaned fawn and give it a modern horror twist. Using Felix Salten's 1923 novel Bambi: A Life in the Woods and the subsequent 1942 Disney adaptation as inspiration, The Reckoning will unleash a monstrous version of Bambi, hell-bent on revenge. There's only a teaser trailer so far, but the brief glimpse we get of the bloodthirsty deer looks pretty promising. The Reckoning will be the first film in the Twisted universe that isn't directed by Frake Waterfield, who instead will produce alongside his Blood and Honey partner and Christopher Robin actor Scott Chambers. Or Scott Jeffrey, depending on how you interpret his IMDb page. We're just going to refer to him as Chambers to minimize confusion. Taking on directing duties this time is Dan Allen, working from a script by Reese Warrington. A quick look at the social media accounts of some of the people involved reveals the movie began and ended shooting in January, with some noting that it apparently took less than 15 days to shoot. It's set for a fall 2024 release, but there's no official date just yet. After Bambi's killing spree, we'll all be treated to a big-screen desecration of J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan, entitled Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare.
Come on, everybody, here we go! Off to Neverland!
Frake Waterfield, who is just serving as screenwriter for this installment, told The Hollywood Reporter back in November 2022, "That world's got a lot of interesting elements we can have fun with. All the characters are meant to be really innocent, and when you think of Tinkerbell, she's this sweet, cute little fairy. But we're going to make her heavily obese and recovering from drugs." Since then, director Scott Chambers has revealed more about the project, telling Bloody Disgusting he's aiming to take inspiration from French cinema for the reimagining. He said, "The film will be incredibly tense, following Wendy as she tries to track down her brother Michael, who has been abducted by Peter Pan. I would say it's a mesh between Switchblade Romance and The Black Phone, with our own spin on it. It is a nasty, violent, and incredibly dark movie." Casting has also been confirmed, with Megan Placido set to play Wendy Darling, while Kit Green will play the bloated, drug-addicted Tinkerbell. Peter D'Souza Faney and Belinda Fenty will also appear in the film, which is set to shoot in May of 2024 ahead of a planned Halloween release. Rhys Frake Waterfield isn't the only one taking characters tied to Disney and reimagining them. Remember that Guillermo del Toro recently won an Oscar in 2023 for his idiosyncratic vision of Pinocchio.
He's a puppet, just a puppet!
No, I'm not. I'm made of flesh and bone and meaty bits. I'm a real boy.
Now it's time to see how the Twisted Childhood Universe will handle the sentient puppet. Pinocchio Unstrung will, of course, be a horrific reimagining of Italian writer Carlo Collodi's 1883 children's novel, The Adventures of Pinocchio. Jagged Edge Productions announced the project as yet another entry in the TCU back in January 2024. Production is set for summer 2024 ahead of a planned theatrical release at the end of the year, with Frake Waterfield back on board as director alongside Scott Chambers. A brief glimpse of the unstrung version of Pinocchio was seen during the credits for Blood and Honey 2, revealing the titular puppet to be a monstrously disfigured iteration of the beloved children's character. Surprise, surprise. You can't have a shared universe without it leading to some sort of grand team-up. And Poohniverse Monsters Assemble is the TCU's attempt at just that. Announced in March 2024, this crossover will unite horror versions of Winnie the Pooh, Bambi, Peter Pan, and more, and is set for release in 2025. This twisted team-up represents Rhys Frake Waterfield's most obvious attempt to take a page out of the MCU playbook by leveraging the momentum created by each of the individual movies in the franchise to create one big event film. Even the font on the poster looks almost identical to 2012's Avengers. Are we about to witness an Avengers-level success with Poohniverse Monsters Assemble? Well, no. But it might well do better than many of the individual movies, as the novelty of seeing Pooh riding a deranged Bambi while swirling a blood-stained bear trap and hunting down Wendy from Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare is surely enough to entice horror fans, even if they're sick of this single-minded approach of transforming storybook characters into terrifying freaks. Directed by Frake Waterfield, Poohniverse will pit the monsters against survivors from the previous films. But as actor and producer Scott Chambers told Variety, there will also be carnage within the group and epic sequences of monster versus monster. The most mysterious of all the planned TCU films, Awakening Sleeping Beauty, was seemingly confirmed after a fan noticed the film's IMDb page and asked the official Blood and Honey 2 Twitter page if it was actually real. The reply was a simple yes, tentatively confirming that Frank Waterfield has plans to give Charles Perrault's 1697 fairy tale the TCU treatment. So far, details are scant, but the official IMDb page lists Scott Chambers and Reese Frank Waterfield as directors. The most recognizable version of the Sleeping Beauty story is, of course, Disney's 1959 film, which means Frank Waterfield and company will continue the theme of ruining beloved Disney movies should Awakening Sleeping Beauty ever rise from its slumber. Given all of the future installments we've discussed so far, it comes as little surprise that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 3 is also in the works.
I knew that this day would come.
At this stage, plot details are non-existent. What we do know is that Frank Waterfield has claimed the film will have a bigger budget than its predecessors and will introduce other Winnie the Pooh characters, including Rabbit, the Heffalumps, and the Woozles. Other than that, details about the threequel are scarce. Nonetheless, considering Frank Waterfield's keenness to crank out these films in quick succession, you can bet you'll be hearing more about this one much sooner than you might think. At the time of this video, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 has made just $594,000 on a budget of around $500,000. Compare that to the first film's $5 million on a $50,000 budget, and things aren't looking all that great for this burgeoning interconnected universe. Blood and Honey 2 may have very briefly debuted with the perfect Rotten Tomatoes score, but it seems the novelty of a homicidal Pooh might be wearing off. Either that, or audiences were so disappointed by the first film, they're simply not turning up for this one. Still, Frank Waterfield, who aptly proclaims himself to be a ruiner of childhood memories, seems absolutely dedicated to his mission of destroying beloved children's characters. And Jagged Edge Productions certainly seem on board. There's even a Marvel-esque roadmap image, charting the various films in the TCU leading up to Poohniverse. With that in mind, it seems the guys behind these films are intent on churning them out regardless of what the numbers say. Even if these reimaginings don't work out, Frank Waterfield also harbors desires to take on a plethora of other stories synonymous with childhood. As the director told The Hollywood Reporter, there are many other ideas out there which aren't tied to Disney. Loads of old fairy tales and urban legends, concepts that are synonymous with your childhood, and they're the ones which I want to build up into a twisted alternative reality.